This is a biographical profile of Sonia Sotomayor by Ike, Olivia, and Hannah. Sonia Sotomayor is currently an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court and has given agency to many Latino voices over the years.
Sotomayor entered Princeton University in 1972 on a full scholarship, gaining admission in part due to her achievements in high school and in part because affirmative action made up for her standardized test scores not being fully comparable to those of other applicants. She would later say that there are cultural biases built into such testing and praise affirmative action for fulfilling its purpose to create the conditions whereby students from disadvantaged backgrounds could be brought to the starting line of a race many were unaware was even being run. She would describe her time at Princeton as a life-changing experience. Princeton had few women students and fewer Latinos, about 20. She became a moderate student activist and co-chair of the Acción Puerto Riqueña organization, which served as a social and political hub and sought more opportunities for Puerto Rican students. She worked in the admissions office, traveling to high schools and lobbying on behalf of her school. As an activist, Sotomayor focused on faculty hiring and curriculum, since Princeton did not have any full-time Latino professors nor any class on Latin American studies. Acción Puerto Riqueña filed a formal letter of complaint in April 1974 with the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, saying the school discriminated in its hiring and admission practices. Sotomayor wrote opinion pieces for the Daily Princetonian with the university finally began to hire Latino faculty. Sotomayor also successfully persuaded historian Peter Wynn to create a seminar on Puerto Rican history and politics. Sotomayor joined the governance board of Princeton's Third World Center and served on the university's Student-Faculty Discipline Committee, which issued rulings on student infractions. She also ran an after-school program for local children and volunteered as an interpreter for Latino patients at Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. Sotomayor then entered Yale Law School in the fall of 1976. At Yale, she found there were again few Latino students. She became an editor of the Yale Law Journal and was also managing editor of the student-run Yale Studies and World Public Order publication, later known as the Yale Journal of International Law. Sotomayor published a law review note on the effect of possible Puerto Rican statehood on the island's mineral and ocean rights. She was a semifinalist in the Barristers Union mock trial competition. She was co-chair of a group for Latin, Asian, and Native American students, and her advocacy to hire more Hispanic faculty was renewed. In 1979, Sotomayor was awarded a JD from Yale Law School. She was admitted to the New York bar the following year.
Sotomayor can be seen as a curandera because of her time at university. While there, she tried her best to change faculty and student acceptance rates in order to include more Latino voices. After Yale, she became an assistant district attorney to the city of New York. Starting her career, women only held 8% of professional positions as lawyers, giving agency to women at the time. Current demographics show small percentages of Latino population are represented as lawyers in the current legal system. During her legal career, Sonia Sotomayor was a member of the State of New York Mortgage Agency. This allowed for her to aid families who could not previously afford mortgages or qualify to receive mortgages. This also changed housing regulations within the state of New York, especially in urban areas and impoverished areas. Throughout her legal career, Sonia Sotomayor was a board member for the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Education Fund. This meant that she fought for the rights of Puerto Ricans within the United States, giving agency to voices that did not previously have them. Sotomayor's legal career can be seen as a way to give voices to the Latinos and Latinas that did not currently have voices in the legal system. She represented a very few by being a woman in the legal system as well as being a Latina. Sotomayor became a new voice, representative of her identity.
Sonia Sotomayor was nominated to be a federal judge in 1991 by President George H.W. Bush, becoming the first female Puerto Rican federal judge. In 1997, she was then nominated by President Bill Clinton to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Some interesting opinions in her time in that judgeship position included upholding the NFL's stance of making players wait 3 seasons after high school before entering the draft, and upholding the illegality of nunchucks in New York. More than a decade later, in 2009, Sotomayor was nominated to be a Supreme Court justice by President Barack Obama. As a Supreme Court justice, she's been a part of many landmark rulings, including those legalizing same-sex marriage. As a Supreme Court justice, Sotomayor is de facto a curandera for her people. Without being biased, she is still able to speak as a voice for the entire Latino people. Only 6.8% of active U.S. Circuit Court judges are non-white women. She's the only non-white woman on the Supreme Court. And even though she obviously doesn't judge based on the fact that she is a Latina, it does of course affect her foundation. A quote of hers speaks to this. "I would hope that a wise Latino woman with the richness of her experiences would more often than not reach a better conclusion than a white male who hasn't lived that life."